If you ask, Rita Fuller-Yates can probably tell you just about anything when it comes to Columbus's Black history.
She was not only an artist, she was in tune with the past.
A past that this Native and community historian knows all too well.
85% of the African American population lived within these boundaries. They had their own wealth. They had their own businesses. We had our own schools. It was the segregated community of Columbus.
The Bronzeville community touched in every way by redlining. But to understand that, she's got to take us back to St. Paul AME Church, which played a foundational role in the creation of Bronzeville because of segregation.
It helped provide housing, it provided education for the people who moved from the South during the Great Migration.
And that created friction.
Because we were living a life of freedom, and so often they were just coming out of slavery.
They being dark-skinned blacks coming from the South who would be taught by light-skinned black people how to read, write, and what it meant to be free.
We so often use the idea of light skin, dark skin to explain our strife, but that really is where it all began at. It's the conflict of the northern black person feeling a little more accomplished than the southern black person. As
blacks populated the area and businesses flourished, Yates says all of this made the area and others in Columbus more attractive for redlining, the now illegal practice that lenders use to draw red lines on maps of areas where they didn't want to make loans.
They identified it by saying, what are the salaries of this community? What are the disadvantages? How many homeowners live in this community? When the redlining happened, that created an opportunity for people to be dispersed. Along with people, that created wealth to be dispersed, and that broke up the culture of this community.
So what once lined the streets and stood tall, erased and replaced oftentimes with parking lots, like the one here across the street from the Lincoln Theater, and here at Columbus State Community College, where Elijah Pierce's barbershop once existed. As the city prepared to build highways, clothing designer Vazzy Douglas remembers all too well what happened as a little girl.
They started tearing down houses, and I was really afraid they're going to tear our house down because we were very close to where the freeway went. It was just scary because I kept thinking they were going to come back and get our church and get our house because we were so close. And they were tearing them down, and they were just a big hole. And I would look down in it and think, oh my God.
While a new highway stopped short of her church and house,
the freeway did take my aunt's house.
She says from there, other homes went downhill and were boarded up. Looking for new places to live, many blacks struggled because redlining opened the door for unfair lending practices while blocking them from moving into white neighborhoods. Although the effects of redlining significantly impacted black communities, Yates says it wasn't all bad.
It was all about moving to the suburbs, what they call moving on up. Our children now was able to attend schools with white students. We now were able to obtain opportunities outside of these boundaries.
Opportunities like becoming principals, superintendents, and fire chiefs. Still, redlining was a step in the process that ultimately led to gentrification.
It starts out white, we buy it, it goes to a disadvantaged state, they come back in and rebuy it, then it becomes a place that nobody else can ever afford. No black person can ever afford to live there.
Even though redlining has been outlawed, she says it's important now to use history as a reflection of what happened, recognize the pain of it, and then say what we can do as a community to change the course and